So like I said, I started my mission in December, got to the field in January, and the bike accident happened like end of, like I think May. It's been so long now, but it happened in May, I think, of 2014. And I remember though, I was on exchanges, so I was with a different missionary, and the point of that, is to get experience and learn from one another. But we were going, and it was the end of the day. We'd had a really bad day in terms of success, and so like just all of our appointments canceled, and so I was really down and kind of just like, man, this is not the day I wanted, because I wanted to show off. I was in my area, and I wanted to show the success we've been having and help him. And we had a lot of teaching appointments that they all fell through. Like I think we had 6 or 7, and they all fell through. And so it was the end of the day. We just kept biking home, and it's 9 o'clock at night, or 8:30ish roughly, and we're biking home, and the elder asked me, hey, can we get a drink? And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? Like, we still have like a 40-minute bike ride home, and, I'm tired and thirsty. He's tired and thirsty too, since no one had let us in, so we didn't really get your normal fix of like a beverage from the people. And so that bike accident, it was at night, it was dark. I had a bike light on, but it wasn't really the best of bike light. I had my helmet on, and I remember I hit a rock, and I just honestly went over the rock, and I hit my head on the rock. So it was almost like you're biking, and imagine, you see someone biking and their body's like this way standing, and it was almost like a 180 in about like half a second. That's what it felt like. And I remember hitting it, and I fell over, so I went like this, and this is my head, and I went over like that, and then back like that. And I remember getting up and being really dizzy and just like really confused, like what happened? Like I was like, did I get hit by something? And then I realized, I looked up and I was like, oh, I hit a rock. And I'm like, okay. And like I was like, oh, I just get back up. But then I remember my head instantly, as soon as I stood up, because I got up real slow, I remember almost vomiting right there. And I remember just feeling really dizzy, and I started I had a hard time seeing, and I was like, oh, the gas station was really about like for me, so like if you imagine for me to like almost like further from you, so like it was probably 50 feet away, something like that, so it wasn't that far, so I walked it, and I was holding onto the bike as a balance, and I remember getting there and asking like, hey, can you go get me a drink so I can just like cool off, and so that missionary did. And then I knew something was wrong there. I was just like, okay, my head really hurts. And so we were taken to the hospital by one of the senior couples. And being a third world country, their knowledge of medicine isn't the best. And so I actually had to tell the nurse, I was like, I have a concussion. Like I wanted to go to med school, and I'd seen many concussions before. So I was kind of in my head. I don't know how I was honestly functioning in terms of understanding, but I just knew, I was like, I have a concussion. So I told them that, and the only thing they did was like, well, we have this medicine that helps your stomach. If you take that should work. I'm like, in my head, I remember like doubting it highly. I'm like, I don't think medicine for your stomach would help a concussion, but I took them to be polite for that, because they gave them to us for free, but still just to be polite, because I knew that they were doing their best, and it wasn't like their fault or anything. And then I remember that later that night, just calling my president and saying, hey, I'm not really feeling well and stuff. And so he flew me over to Singapore, I think 2 days later or maybe a day later. And where in Singapore it's basically, Singapore is like a first world country in terms of medical and technology and everything. And so they had really good doctors. And so they went and gave me a CAT scan, and they're like, yep, you got a concussion. There's no brain damage, permanent damage, as we can see. It's just gonna, your typical, you're gonna have to recover now, and like, don't do certain things, and like, don't go out. I'm like, okay. And they gave me some medicine that did work, or actual medicine for your concussion, for migraines and things like that. And I remember my mission president saying, all right, just you'll probably be down for 2 weeks. Just stay inside and don't study, don't do anything. Just take it easy. Like, here's a chance to recover. Your body's hurt, like he wasn't a doctor, but he understood, what the doctor, because they spoke to us in English. He's like, okay, that makes sense. And so I was like, okay. And so my mindset of that was it's going to be a 2-week thing. And then I remember 2 weeks going by, and at that point, my concussion progressed to the point where I was seeing double pretty much almost all the time, and I couldn't walk straight. Like, I couldn't even walk about maybe 100 feet without falling over, without fear of falling over easily, just because it was so lightheaded and it like hurt, like everything was so bright to me. And so I remember this went on for basically a month. I tried for a month, and I was just inside, and as a missionary, that's like your worst nightmare to not have to go out and work in the terms of that. And so I felt bad for my companion. I felt like I was letting the people down, and he called me about a month later and said, you know what, Watson, I've been praying, and I've decided, and I've gotten the answer to send you home to recover. And I was just devastated about that. I remember arguing with him and begging him, like, can I just be transferred to a walking area? Because we had walking areas in our mission. I was like, maybe I can go there or somewhere cooler that's not as humid. And I was like, oh, please, can I do that? I don't want to finish, like this. I don't want to go home. This wasn't my idea at all, going out on a mission to have to go home at all. And I remember him just saying, like, no, it's already been decided. You've got a plane ticket. And so when he called me that, like, afternoon. He's like, you're going home tomorrow morning. It was that quick. And I remember just being shocked. I'm just like, no, what's going to happen? And I remember getting meeting my mission president. He gave me some last words of advice, and he said, like, hopefully you'll be able to get better. That's what we want. Our main goal is to make sure you're better and healthy, and hopefully you can come back to this mission. He's like, if not, like, don't worry. You've served an honorable mission, and that was a big deal to me and to a lot of people going out, is to make sure you serve with honor, to serve that mission honorably. And so I remember going home and getting home, and my parents were really worried because my dad had 4 concussions himself, or like 3 or 4, and so he'd had, we were no strangers to concussions, and we knew the side effects to that, and so we were just really hoping, we were glad that there was no permanent brain damage. But I remember getting home, and my doctor, I was home for about 3 months, and I remember my doctor within the first month said, you're not getting better, even though you're taking these medicines, and you're not, you're following the standard, like, medical advice to just relax and take it easy. And so he's like, I don't want you to go back out on the mission because of that at that point. And I remember being so devastated hearing that, because it's like, well, I wanted to serve the 2 years, that was my goal. I'd gained a testimony before my mission, and enough to go out. And I was like, well, I wanted to serve, like, what do you mean I can't go back out? And I remember my stake president saying, yeah, like, we'll just take it from here and kind of figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. And so he asked me, like, do you want to go to college? Like, well, I went to college before my mission, and just thinking, like, I remember that day just sitting there thinking and praying a lot, just saying a lot of prayers, just saying, like, Heavenly Father, I recognize it's thy will, but if I can go out, I'd really like to serve in whatever capacity, preferably as a full-time missionary again, out. And I remember just being really at peace, and I just remember feeling all this support and love, because I felt like a failure, and I felt that being that 1 month in the mission field I felt the stress that comes with the mission. I felt that I'd failed the members in that area, the people in the area, my mission president and myself and Heavenly Father. And I remember when I came back, all those feelings just it grew like exponentially, like 10 times, when they said, like, you're not going to go back out due to the recovery progress being so not recovering. And so I remember just pleading with Heavenly Father, like, please, like, help me to go back out if I can. And then I know from that point forward, it had been about 2 months of recovery that I recovered really quickly. After that, I just started, like, really progressing. And so it got to the point where my doctor was like, okay, you can go, but I want you to serve stateside, because it would just be easier if you get another concussion to send you back home. And the church, like, they agreed with that. And so they reassigned me to Phoenix, Arizona, and so I served the rest of my mission there. And I just remember being really happy and thanking Heavenly Father. And in that moment, I just knew, like, okay, like, it's like, thank you for that. I'm not going to waste it. And it really helped, because I had that 3 months of being home to realize almost, like, what do I want to now do better as a missionary? Like, I have a chance to almost, like, go back out with a new mindset and new skills, like, take the skills I learned from the old mission to the new one.